Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird's a winner. Well, a bird.
Grown men watch this shit?
A podcast about indie wrestling.
Bird is a winner. Well, a bird. Well, a bird is a winner. Well, a bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird. Well, a bird is a winner. Well, a bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fantabulously professional podcast that is wrestling-centric, known as...
Grown men watch this shit?
Yeah, that, just so you know, everyone, was completely on the fly this time. I didn't think what I was going to do with the intro, and that's what came out. So, I don't know whether that's good or bad, but it is definitely real.
Dude, kept me on my toes.
I mean, if you get nothing else from this podcast, you'll soon recognize that you're getting realness.
Yeah, we keep it real, 100% real.
Yep. Oh, man. So, nothing newsworthy at all has happened today, right?
The whole world is in a mess, and now so is the World Wrestling Universe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it has been for some time, but significantly more so today, really. And I mean, that's not necessarily our wheelhouse, but I mean, things that are that big do, I guess, trickle down and affect all of the other things that we would generally even talk about. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go on a fucking long, angry rant about it, like I probably could. But what are your immediate thoughts, sir?
Well, incredibly unfortunate for all involved, especially considering there's not even an indie market for these guys to go and apply their wares to immediately. So some of the guys, I guess the NXT guys, are rumored to get some sort of semblance of a pay, like a severance package. I'm not sure how that translates.
I heard they get barely anything. They get like a month, and then it's like
a month.
Yeah.
But it's just something we've talked about, and I've often maybe it wasn't too negative on. I was like applauded it. The WWE always hoards a ton of talent, and now they're needing to release an exorbitant amount of people who are talented workers themselves. I don't see anybody on the list so far that would have been necessarily somebody I could see as the face of the company or the future world champion outside of maybe Rusev. But
I mean,
still.
I think definitely this overall thing is just an indictment on those that like talent warehousing monopolistic practices, right? Like
100%.
That whole thing of they want to take all of the toys off of the fucking everyone else's table so that they're in their little toy box and no one else can play with them. And now that they're like, oh, no one else is playing with the toys, also, shit, these toys are costing us a lot of money when we have really overextended ourselves in a variety of ways. So, you know what? Fuck these toys. Let's throw them out. Whoever wants them can have them. That's just kind of the way that I look at this.
I saw a picture they had somebody photoshopped recently of all the champions like standing in a staircase, and when you see it, it's like these are way too many titles. And then somebody points out, well, if you go by per capita of how many people they have on their roster, it's really not that bad. That's not necessarily. That is not a good statement. It's ridiculous. They have everyone basically gets some sort of consolation title, and it's retarded. I almost said retarded. It's ridiculous. Dude, and now they have to lay off people who they even announced Drake Maverick for that damn tournament, and they had to lay him off, and now he's still competing in it. Like,
fuck you!
Are they going to turn that into an angle? Yeah, it wrecked? He's wrecked, man. Yeah. And I saw Jason Agnew saying how he was working everybody. Is like, no, that guy legitimately is bummed that he lost his dream job. They might turn it into an angle. Like, no, I don't know. If you don't think they're going to be a ground support to give spud
You
his
really
job
think
back.
that's a fucking angle that they'd run right now?
No, I don't mean that part. I meant coming out of it. Like if there was a groundswell of support, they'd be like, "Well, let's give the belt to this guy." I don't know.
I don't see
I don't
that.
think they would actually run it as an angle to begin with, dude. You
Yeah,
know, they've taken
Even
ridiculous
in a
things.
reactionary sense. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Things change over
Yeah.
time, but at least in the immediate future, I think they could give a fuck about him, as most of these employees. It's funny when you said the idea of like just the sheer amount of talent that they've got and they like have collected. I always like pop for that because how much shit they used to give WCW on these like bullshit retrospective documentaries where they just make WCW out to be the biggest villain and evil wrestling monopoly in the world, which WWE is far more than WCW ever was, even at their worst.
For sure.
And one of the points they always would give WCW shit for was all of the wrestlers that they'd have under contract and the ones that they wouldn't use. You know, like your Chris Adams or Lanny Poffo is another
Lanny
example.
Poffo, yeah.
These guys that they would have under contract and very rarely use just because of, you know, the amount of TV time or whatever. But I don't think even at their fucking worst they ever wasted talent anywhere near what WWE has done over the last few years. Like, and just looking at the total amount of people who were signed to total amount of wrestlers who were signed to WCW at their peak in like '99 compared to WWE right now, not even comparable. Like,
Yeah, like so you're like, but they have all these brands. Like, do they need all these brands? Like, honestly, I like wrestling, but does WWE UK NXT need to exist?
That's
honestly,
exactly what I was thinking, man. And hey, you reckon there's going to be an announcement coming soon about a full shutdown of that one?
I would imagine so. Like, it seems like the easiest thing to cut ties with. You know what I mean? It's so much expense to run it like abroad. Like they're not directly connected to it.
Any positive success whatsoever. Like there was a really funny tweet someone did the other day about like I think WWE released like there's going to be like a documentary on it or something, and it's like about the rise of NXT UK, and someone was like,
what did they do?
There was a rise.
When did they take the world by storm? So are they on the downtrend now? Like, what is happening?
I always thought that documentary would just be called "The Fall and Fall of NXT UK."
yeah. The baseline, the NXT UK that they never achieved anything else.
And yet that fucking idiot Pete Dunne will probably be out here saying how much of a great thing it still is for the UK scene. Fucking moron, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I don't know. They're the people at the moment that are really standing out to me, like your Pete Dunnes of the world, your Seth Rollins of the world with a fucking idiotic video, or like I mean I've said
did
before.
Seth release a video too?
Hey, yeah.
Seth released a video. I missed it.
Oh man, yeah.
How cringy was that shit?
So cringy. There's a time that we all need to come together and not be pointing fingers and not be critical of WWE, and oh my gosh, it was such a bad look. But yeah,
it's the only time to be critical of WWE. Like, it's the most direct and specific time to be critical of WWE. This is after Vince has arrived to Florida.
Right? People are like, this isn't the time. When else is the fucking time?
Exactly. Like, what are we supposed to do here?
Yeah.
Vince, and then I like how all this stuff has come out for Vince, like this week. All this shitty news, and then he does this, and then the XFL. Like, you partially want to feel sympathy, but then you realize, no, he's a fucking asshole and brought a lot of this shit onto himself. Like, what the fuck? And then covering up with the Snuka murder too.
Yeah, like you look at this just in terms of a week snapshot in history that we'll look back upon, right? It's like in this week, Vince has shut down. No, I think the bribe came first, right? Of this fucking Trump super PAC. So then there's a meeting that just happens to take place shortly after this bribe, saying, "Hey, WWE is an essential service." And from what we hear, woven within the fabric of society, that one popping. So we had that. we then had the XFL go bankrupt. And then within like a day of that, Vince is then announced as like an economic fucking advisor for Donald Trump. Within a day of declaring fucking bankruptcy for a company, and then the next day, fucking releases a 20 odd or more growing list of workers. They should be employees, but they're not employees, but whatever. And this is the guy that's going to be fucking advising on this Donald Trump council. That's reassuring, right?
The biggest rub about that, I was actually just bullshitting with the guys at Steel Cage about this, is nothing Vince has done outside of the WWE has been successful. Like the WWF, WWF was not good. Ica Pro wasn't good. WWE New York wasn't good. XFL was
rich. He's trying to promote concerts on pay-per-view. Remember that going back a while?
Yeah. XFL Run 1 didn't work. XFL Run 2, unfortunately, outside of his control, some of that maybe, didn't do so well. Was doing great, but, kind of flopped and has been declared bankrupt. So I don't know why he's considered the financial, like, I really look up to his wrestling knowledge.
No, what was the best bit? The best bit. The great Vince McMahon. Did you hear that?
The great Vince McMahon put me into the WWE Hall of Fame. I figured I owe him one.
That's one thing in history. I'm so glad that I was able to be there for that Hall of Fame. The only Hall of Fame of WWE I've ever gone to. It was just to see Bruno and Foley go in. And I got to see Madison Square Garden boo the fucking shit out of Donald Trump. That was fun. But, I mean, so outside of this, we then sort of go on to the COVID-19 thing. All these guys having to work and fly in on a weekly basis because WWE is fucking essential, apparently. And at what point, to me, is it on the workers, right? And this is like an extension now of like all these guys being released and people talking about, hey, this would be the time to not go into work to make a stand. I mean, to me, if you're a good person, you would tell them to go fuck themselves and you wouldn't go into work, I mean, purely to protect your family, but whatever. I mean, what point now does the responsibility go on to the workers to be like, hey, I feel like these guys should be responsible for themselves, and if they're still going to work, that should be on them, not crying like, oh, my fucking boss made me. You know what I mean?
Maybe WWE fired all these guys because they observed them not socially distancing themselves. These guys were all too close. As I'm standing there, we had to let them go. They certainly should, but it's classic wrestling.
I feel for the guys who are on the bottom half, right?
They're not gonna. Those guys aren't gonna say shit.
No, and they shouldn't. But
guys like Oni Lorcan, who's getting TV time out of this, or Austin Theory, who's getting a huge push because of all this, like. The roster is thin down there in Florida. They're picking up on that. So, like, Oni Lorcan's not going to say, guys, I don't feel safe. You don't think?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a fucked up position for those guys to be in, just anyway. Like, that's, taking advantage of someone at a point of weakness. I mean, which is fucking what the company does anyway. Let's not say it's not what it is. But to me, it's like, anyone there who is like above that, that upper half of the card, it is unforgivable.
Seth should have been the guy that did that. Seth shouldn't have been the guy who's rallying.
Yeah, but
everyone to support WWE. He should be the guy who's like, hey, WWE, maybe we need to take in consideration the rest of the talent and just.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it means more people get laid off, though.
By this point, he's clearly a piece of shit as a person that kind of like crossed the picket line, weaseled to Vince. He's the guy like, Hogan when Jesse Ventura was trying to start the fucking union. Seth would be the one saying, oh, Vince, there's a union talk. You better fire this guy. I have no belief that Seth is a good person whatsoever. But
unfortunately, the wrestlers, the person they have rallying for them is David Starr.
Yeah, who they all fucking distance themselves from. I mean, to me, there's like something to be said about. I mean, this is both the union thing, both the going to work during this COVID-19 thing. Like, I learned a long time ago, in fucking school. Like, there's no point in standing up for someone who doesn't have the fucking balls to stand up for themselves. And that's kind of where I'm at now with like the WWE roster. Like, I'm sick of this kind of like defending them. Oh, the poor, they're working for this terrible boss. These poor guys. It's like, if they don't have the balls to stay home and tell them to go fuck themselves, then I don't have much sympathy for them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. By that same token, I also feel like, all right, if they've decided that they're cool with writing with someone who practices business this way, then if you're going to allow maybe your morals to be compromised, okay, maybe we can view you as kind of a shitty person.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
I mean, like, with the amount of fucking people that get cancelled in culture these days, most of those fucking people aren't potentially responsible for someone or many people dying. You know what I mean?
Cancel Vince McMahon.
Cancel the whole thing. Shut it down. Shut it down. Fuck. Oh man, yeah, it's just shitty. It sucks. And on the other hand, on the very positive hand, you see the news come out about all of the people from the top companies in Japan banding together to go to the government to actually have a positive reaction to this.
Oh shit! No, I did not hear about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Tanahashi and I believe the New Japan president, not Harold May, but the other one, the top guy there, top representatives of Stardom, Tokyo Joshi Pro, All Japan, Noah, all came together to approach government with New Japan legend Hiroshi Hase, who's a political figure over there, speaking on their behalf, I believe. And they're basically going to the government to work this out, to potentially get some sort of financial support for all of these wrestlers out there, especially wrestlers in the smaller companies that are like really fucking suffering right now. And also looking at things that they could do in terms of getting like some sort of early check screening in place, so they could potentially do shows if they were able to screen fans in some sort of sense, like just actually taking proactive measures. And it's like, someone was like, can you imagine the world where fucking Vince McMahon and Seth Rollins walk into Washington to see what they can do to help out the rest of the wrestling world during this hard time?
Hell no.
Right? I mean, it's just such a stark difference, hey? But I think that was really good, and I really, really hope it has a positive result for them, because there's so many companies in Japan that are just doing it so hard right now.
Dude, what's funny to me about that is in Japan, wrestling's actually kind of respected to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
If they tried to do that in the United States, like all the people who are not necessarily wrestling fans are like, what? We're bailing out wrestling? Like, what the fuck? What's going on here? What are we doing?
I mean,
Like, they wouldn't grasp it's other people working. You know what I mean?
People have been taught since the 80s that wrestling does not fucking matter, and it is a dumb freak show thing that in no way anyone should take seriously or respect.
Yeah, like if they're gonna bail out baseball, people are like, all right, I get it. Yeah, they can't play. It makes sense to me. But because it's wrestling, people are like, no, what the fuck are you talking? Wrestling?
Jeremy, woven into the fabric of society.
They'd be like, grown men watch that shit? Hey, I said the thing.
Hey, we need a dinger. Oh man, yeah. So I hope that works out well for them. But yeah, just so different. I mean, it's the smaller promotions, and it is the same thing in America. It's the smaller promotions that are really suffering. But in another sense, like, good stuff with this fucking terrible thing WWE's done, to look at the other companies that are more on that mid spectrum, like your ROHs, MLW, Impact Wrestling, even AEW as well. How many people have they released?
None.
Fucking none.
Yep.
And I'm sure that they are in a heck of a lot more of a financially dangerous position than WWE. So what does that tell you?
It tells you either Vince wasn't concerned with trying to help anybody or keep their jobs, or he saw the easiest way out is just nixing some talent, and it seems like he took the latter.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a different story if they were actually losing money. You know, if they're in like a position like they were in 95, 96, where they're really on the bubble. But this isn't even like to, minimize losses. They're nowhere near losses. This is to try to help them meet their fucking
To avoid losses.
yeah, like to meet their projections for Wall Street before this came in. Like that's what they're talking about. And like between the disgusting, blood money that they get from fucking Saudi Arabia and like these ridiculous TV deals that they're willingly putting people's lives on the line so that they can try to protect, like you'd think at least they could not be firing people right now.
You would think these TV deals, I mean, I know these are corporations, they may not have hearts per se, but maybe some understanding like, hey, we can't run shows right now without endangering. Is there some sort of like understanding that can be made for this portion of the contract, or maybe we can make it up on the week's end, on the end of the contract?
I am sure there could be things that could be done. Hey, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Way, like whether they change to more of like a studio, approach where they're kind of like interviewing people and showing old matches and keeping it being like new content, but at least not endangering the lives of their wrestlers. Like that could be a thing that I'm sure the network would be finding acceptable. But no,
yeah,
I think it's more just Vince's steadfast thing of, if we air old footage, we're going to lose viewers, ratings are going to go down. And that's more what he's looking at rather than this bullshit thing people have been stirring up of, if they don't do a live show every week, they're going to lose their contract. I think it's more just like Vince's weird, steadfast approach to this shit. Like the whole reason that WrestleMania took place this year.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway, on to some positives. What's some good news that you've seen or had happen to you this week, my friend?
Man, my dog turned 1.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, that's about it. Life has been very bleak in the Corona world. Like all I do is, since I'm working from home, I wake up and I roll out of bed about 30 minutes before I have to work, take a quick shower, take the dog out, then work, and then take the dog for a couple walks, and then watch TV. And I just keep doing the same thing all day. It's very bleak. When will it end? When will it end?
Well, if you listen to all these people, apparently as soon as May starts, it'll be all over and all rosy again. But I do not know about that.
Yeah. Sounds hard to believe.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, man, there's a lot of awfulness, but I think people listen to this kind of stuff. Not that anyone listens to our show. Don't want people to think that. The bots, the bots that listen to our show that we talk about on occasion, they want something positive in their life. So that's why we're here to go back, watch some wrestling of the past or not so recent past, and say, this is fucking great, you should watch this, because that's, I think, the real benefit right now. We want to drill down into some good things. I think the good thing is that people are less caught up in watching new content, and they're spending this time absorbing and going back and looking over a bunch of older stuff that is fucking magical that they just didn't have time to watch. And I'm seeing it all over Twitter, like everyone watching this old shit, and it's just like, I mean, I in a lot of ways think older wrestling is generally better. I mean, does that make me a fucking old man curmudgeon? Maybe, but
to a degree, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's cool to be like going back. I mean, that's what I wish most of these promotions would be doing rather than making new content. Focus on this older stuff and leverage that. Like, it's awesome.
It'd be awesome if like somehow one of these current companies that's not WWE finds like some old footage from some other company and like purchases. Like, you know what? instead of showing our footage, here's some rad old school shit. You guys should watch a little bit of this, and we'll be back when we can.
Yeah, someone gets the old like Don Owens Portland.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be so good. Or buys the Memphis library off of the 6 different people that Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler have sold it to over the years.
Yeah, it'd be fucking great. Like it's on loan, but here we go.
Why not? Why not? Have you watched any older stuff outside of what we're about to discuss, just like on a whim?
No, unfortunately. I'm gonna watch that another. I'm trying to watch more wrestling based documentaries. Like we're discussing one tonight, and I watched another one. I watched all of the Brawl-For-All stuff, or not Brawl-For-All, Dark Side of the Ring stuff recently. So I've been watching more docs on wrestling because I find when they're done really well, they're extremely compelling.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Well, why don't we start with that then, man?
All right.
I've also watched all of the Dark Side of the Rings up to the Brawl-For-All episode. I'm yet to watch the Jimmy Snuka one, but I know it's gonna be quite a dark and serious one. But I guess the two that we're maybe gonna have a little chat about is the New Jack one and Brawl-For-All. I enjoyed both of these so much.
Yeah, some of the best storytelling about these specific, because really it's New Jack centered a lot around the mass transit incident, which is, if you're a wrestling fan who got on the internet, once you got it, that's like one of those things you just
can I ask?
Your mouth watered about. What,
did you like tape trade to get that back in the day, or like?
I never actually saw it. I didn't ever get to see it until later. It came out, like somebody posted it on the internet. I never. Right. It was something of, like when I heard about it, I thought it was even more insane than when it actually was because it was so rumored to be how intense. So, but yeah, the New Jack one was
that
great.
And the Muda scale were two of the big ones for me. You know, that Muda Hase match where Muda just like created this scale that everyone rates blade jobs by, which I always thought was funny. But
dude, I recently watched that, not like terribly recently, but within the last year, watched that again. Yeah, it's fucking gnarly.
It's a great match too. I watched it within the last, I'd say like a month ago, and there's also one prior to that where Hase bleeds a fucking bucket load, which I would argue was even better.
Testament to Muda's stamina, like the fact that he can bleed that much and then still like go that long, and fucking crazy.
And also his reacting to it and kind of like selling with it and like selling around it and really like getting the most out of it, kind of thing. So
that's definitely why a lot of wrestlers get hard on for doing blood, because like, look how much it can add to a story. Really, it does.
Oh yeah, I mean, from this bloody 100 best bloody wrestling matches list that I've been making my way through for this illustration project, I've forgotten just how amazing just a great bloody wrestling match can be. It really just adds something that is just next level. But I mean, that's completely different to the mass transit incident.
Yeah, this is just a man trying to brutalize a guy for the sake of his own enjoyment, not for anything else.
Well, it sounds like the fans enjoyed it, and most importantly, Sandman enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the documentary, might I say. Just the reaction of them telling Sandman why New Jack's motivation, and then Sandman's just bursting into laughter.
Yeah. The whole bit was great. Jack being so open about how he was constantly high when he was wrestling. Like, I don't even know. I was so high, man.
Dude, there was so much stuff in this documentary where I'm really glad I watched it alone, because there was like certain points where I would just like burst into literal laughter, like similar to Sandman, just from some fucked up shit that New Jack would say, or that someone
completely
would
inappropriate.
Say
People think you're fucked up for laughing at it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine if someone that knows me, you know, I don't know if it's partially probably because of like, you know, the doing bloody wrestling shit like myself back in the day, to where I'm a little bit desensitized about it, and also
Sure.
I was like the kind of person that would just fucking hate someone like that mass transit guy, to where
Yeah.
I don't want to say I feel like he deserved it, but at the same time I don't really blame New Jack for what he did.
I fucking love the backstory that he got into the business. He's just this guy at flea markets wrestling two black midgets. Like, the greatest story. And the one midget, like, it's sorry, little person. Whatever. The one that they actually have on the show, he's like, I don't even care if Eric hears this. I don't care if Jack hears this. Like, he's like the most bad motherfucker ever.
Oh yeah, he was hilarious actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually, he might have stole the whole documentary. Besides, Jack himself.
I mean, it's hard to top New Jack's. Even to this day, New Jack was. There's no one like New Jack.
So the fall that he hates Vic Grimes over is the one where he jumps first and has to pull Vic down with him, and Vic lands on top of New Jack's head, right?
Well, dude, if I was in New Jack's position right then, and we got up there and we were on fucking live pay-per-view, and we're like gonna do this, and then this fucking guy bitches out at the last minute and's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I think I would have thrown him off myself as well, just to be fair. So I can understand New Jack's frustration and then getting his fucking skull broken by this fucking idiot landing on him. Yeah. That being said, probably tasering him.
And then tossing him off.
I don't know whether I forgot about the taser part.
Yeah, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that part. I just thought he threw him off. I had no idea he tased the motherfucker.
What's that? I can't feel my legs. You won't need them.
Yeah. Oh, the line of the century. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the finishing bit of someone asking him what they want the end of the New Jack feature movie drama thing, and he'd be like, just me in a fucking wheelchair, just snorting a whole fuck ton of coke.
Yeah. I want to party with New Jack. I just don't want to get him mad at me.
He seems like, that's the weirdest thing, because people make him out to be a bad dude. But all of these bad things that he, did, to me, are at least 50% justified. And, you know what I mean? Like, to me, to a point, I was thinking about this. Most of these situations, if you have someone that's just a piece of shit idiot that makes their way through life, most people are going to be nice enough to where they're not going to really suffer much for being a piece of shit idiot. But sometimes you run into a motherfucker that just doesn't suffer fools lightly. And that's where you're really going to, get those kind of consequences. And that's kind of what I feel like New Jack is in life, really.
Yeah. He's not a Denzel type, like a Denzel's friend.
Yeah, oh, I wish they showed more excerpts of that.
Be on the mat.
Be on the mat. Fuck, that is one of my favorite things ever. Just like New Jack going to what was it? It was
some sort of audition. Yeah. Bro, shut up.
And just the relationship between New Jack and Barry Bloom in the documentary as well, and just how nice New Jack can be. And we kind of saw that a bit in the documentary with the promoter of that last shitty indie show that he did in Florida or whatever, where he's like, New Jack's really nice. He's a great cook. He's really nice to talk to. He can tell a great story. And they're like, what did he cook? And it's like, wasn't that spaghetti?
Nailed it. He boiled noodles and heated sauce.
Yeah. But still, I get what he means, It's like and that you can say that for a lot of people in wrestling. They can be huge pieces of shit in some ways, but at the same time, like your interactions with them, you can be like, he's a huge piece of shit, but he's a good dude at the same time. It's like a weird double-edged sword, I think.
Dude, Hitler's dog liked him, so. As Norm Macdonald put it.
Oh man! Anything else on this documentary apart from just pure joy?
Yeah, nothing I can really think of, but yeah, just that was really solid. I didn't think they could get enough out of just him being a crazy asshole, but I was proven wrong.
Dude, I think I'm gonna get his book. Hey,
Hmm.
I've started following on him on Twitter after this, and just his like responses, like to the assholes that just like call him out and bury him, and tell him he's a bad wrestler, just make my day. It's truly wonderful.
Well, the thing is, when people say someone's a bad wrestler, it's because they're all hung up with people having to do wrestling moves to be considered a good professional wrestler. And that has nothing to do with being a good professional wrestler at all, unfortunately. Um, and they just need to get off their high horse and say, hey, New Jack, come fucking kick a motherfucker's ass and bring your garbage can lid.
Well, I think the people that are burying him, from what I've seen on Twitter, themselves have no idea what actual good wrestling is. They just want to be pieces of shit.
Oh, they're just following the lead?
Yeah, I think so. But no, it's funny you say that because I watched a New Jack match recently from those Smoky Mountain days. Oh, that was a really interesting part of the documentary. Hey, about like with D-Lo and them talking about the original iteration of the gangsters down there and being like such heels and just creating fucking havoc, and the whole idea of like getting these fucking white southern fans to like call them the fucking n-word, and then that's like a positive response. So
Yeah.
fucked up. But yeah, I watched one of the matches from that time, from one of the more highly regarded feuds that the gangsters had in Smoky Mountain against the Thugs, which was Tracy Smothers and Dirty White Boy. And holy shit, I had never seen New Jack actually wrestle and be athletic. He did like this crazy, awesome, like running, flipping lariat thing from the apron, like 3 rows into the crowd. He was fucking awesome back then. I was amazed.
Did it look intentional? No, joking.
Who knows?
The other funny thing about that, I guess, is back then is when Cornette turned babyface against the black guys. Like Cornette finally had a babyface run against some black guys, and people don't think Jim Cornette's a racist for some reason. Weird.
What do you mean a babyface run? Because Cornette was always like the big time heel in.
But
Smoky
against
Mountain.
didn't they make him a babyface against the fucking gangsters? I thought that's what they said.
No, they had the bit where Ricky Morton just got the fucking shit beaten out of him. But no, the whole time I think Cornette was a big time heel, and it was more the baby faces that the gangsters would be working with are more like your classic Southern heroes kind of thing. Whereas like for all of the Smoky Mountain I've ever seen, Cornette was nothing but a piece of shit heel and wasn't portrayed as like the actual person in charge of the promotion.
Then I misread, and I apologize. Boy, is my face red. That's egg on my face, sir.
No worries, friend. So then we move on to an episode that I was really looking forward to when I first heard about it, that it was going to be the subject of one of the episodes. This is the Brawl-For-All. Now, I had vague memories of the Brawl-For-All from back in the day. I knew it was bad, and I knew that it was just a complete fucking explosion and didn't in any way go the way they wanted it to. But just watching this documentary just makes you appreciate how fucking stupid it was on a whole nother level, hey?
I remembered it very well and fondly. I thought it was ridiculous and insane. And at the time when I was younger, I didn't necessarily think it was fucking real.
You thought it was a work?
Once I realized wrestling was a work, I figured pretty much everything was, and I didn't think Vince McMahon would actually put the health of his wrestlers on the line. I started to realize, it was pretty legit by the way people were getting dropped. But I even thought last match.
That's funny because I think there was probably a lot of other people, casual viewers, that would have taken it the exact same way as you, where they'd be like, well, I know this isn't real because it's wrestling, but that looks pretty fucking painful.
And then the way the JBL and Bart Gunn match ended always looked to me like they were definitely trying to get Bart over, and it looked like maybe that was a little bit of a working match, but I don't know. That's my conspiracy hat on. And the Brawl-For-All, the best part of this whole documentary was them getting Vince Russo in on the act to admit that he's an asshole and he fucked
don't
up
think he did.
royally without even knowing he's admitting it.
So I watched it, and through the whole thing, I was just incensed because I fucking hate Vince Russo. I think there's two people that are like the most destructive in the history of professional wrestling. They are Vince McMahon Jr. and Vince Russo. But I think I don't think Vince Russo even knew by the end of this documentary how much of a fucking idiot he was. Like, I don't even think he knew how wrong he was. I mean, he was like, I know the bit at the end where he was like, he said, "Oh well, now we know about concussion, so we wouldn't do it now." But he still didn't say that it was a terrible idea at the time.
Yeah, and even at one point he kind of did, but he kind of even backtracked within the same sentence. Like, yeah, and I just love how he just basically said, "Yeah, I did it simply to bust JBL's balls. JBL was running his mouth. Vince McMahon bid on it, and here we're off and running." And it's like Inokiism. It made everyone look like shitheads. All the real wrestlers look like jackasses because they're getting kicked by the.
That right there is a low blow. I will not stand for you comparing that fucking bullshit.
I was being hyperbolic
to the magic that I fucking love. That is Inokiism, sir. Come on now.
Just kidding around.
I know, but I just felt the need to bite. I felt the need to
Understood.
bite.
But yeah, what a cock swinging move. I don't like what this fucking Southern Texas wrestler is saying, so I'm gonna book a whole tournament just so he gets his ass whooped, and the guy almost wins it. Ugh.
Yeah, I loved where it was just like, what kind of fucking piece of shit does it require to put all of these guys' livelihood at risk? And it really did, and cost the company like fucking millions of dollars with what they could have made with like a properly done Dr. Death feud with Austin. And he did it all just for a fucking tiff with JBL. Like, what the fucking fuck? My favorite part of this episode of the documentary was very much Jim Cornette. We definitely differ on our opinions of Jim Cornette. I fucking love him, and Jeremy, you very much hate him. But I just felt some sort of crazy zen anytime I hear Jim Cornette just explain what a complete fucking piece of shit and idiot Vince Russo is. And it's like, if I was in that situation, I think I would want to strangle him just as much as Cornette did. Like, that was a good time. All of the interview moments of Jim Cornette in that one for me were just, they made the episode.
Dude, I do think Jim Cornette, the man, is pretty much a dumb shit asshole, but I do enjoy me some Jim Cornette. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's entertaining as fuck when he goes off. Even when I don't agree with him, because I used to listen to his podcast all the time, he can be very entertaining. But yeah, he was definitely a highlight of these. Even the last documentary he was in the series, he was a part of. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, like, no matter what people think of him, his knowledge and appreciation of wrestling history is second to none. I think he even knows a fuck ton more than Dave Meltzer, frankly. I don't think there's anyone around that can even approach his level of knowledge when it comes to that stuff, and that's what I think is a real great part of these documentaries, just getting that kind of insight. There was a great part where they went into the Droz injury, which I didn't think they were going to touch on, where they, I guess, to make sense for a casual viewer who was like, oh, why was this guy so jacked up and healthy looking in these matches and now he's in a fucking wheelchair?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were talking about the injury, and holy shit, seeing the D-Lo talk about it as well, and hearing Droz, like, I'd never heard both of them kind of give their perspectives on it like that, which was quite heart-wrenching. But then the real poignant part to me was where Cornette was talking about it and saying just how fucking bad it is, and how it's like, people can fucking be paralyzed in that ring, and like that is the reason why he gets so fucking hot on people treating pro wrestling like a fucking joke. Because like you can die doing this shit. Like, so there was something about that that really resonated with me, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that his very passionate. One of the parts I really liked, more of a comical one, was after Billy and Bart had their fight and had to go back to the room
shit.
and hang out together and just sit in that fucking stink of awkwardness. Like I
Yeah, it was a
couldn't
little bit
even
awkward.
imagine. Yeah,
And then they had to wrestle like the next night.
yeah, it's insane.
I mean, talk about negligence. You have guys like get fucking knocked out, knocked loopy in a fucking shoot fight, and then you're making them take bumps and wrestle the next night? Are you fucking kidding me? And they didn't even touch on that point, but that was just something that I couldn't get past. Oh, there was another bit where Russo was blowing up on Cornette, calling him out for being the cunt that he is. And he was like, bro, it's fucking wrestling. Like, can you imagine getting that hot about fucking wrestling? Like, just talking about it in such a demeaning fucking way. And this is another reason why I just detest this piece of shit. And then cutting over to Cornette, and that was his thing. He's like, and Russo was like, it's wrestling. You know, like, it doesn't matter. And he's like, just so impassioned and matter-of-factly spoken to the camera and was like, pro wrestling has been the most important thing in my life. And I believed every fucking word that he said about that. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I think that really gives an insight to a lot of people like, oh, why does Cornette take shit so serious? It's like, I can understand that, and I can completely relate to that.
Yep, and at the same time, it makes Jim Cornette very scary. It's like, this guy takes wrestling very. Don't fuck with this motherfucker's wrestling.
Yeah. Oh man, it was a really good episode, and yeah, the interviews with Bart Gunn particularly, I thought were super interesting too. Like, I never really thought about his insight. And just the idea that you make it through as like this scrub that's on the bottom of the card, who Kevin Kelly's like, hey, you should do this. You'll get a push out of it. Okay. And then you end up getting heat because you beat all the people that they don't want you to beat, even though you try to avoid that heat. And then you end up getting sent home because you won the fucking thing. Can you imagine the frustration of this man?
That was one of the best parts, is when Jim Ross pulled him aside and said, no hard feelings. And that's when I knew I had heat.
Oh, man. And that's a weird thing, because I was watching that and I didn't feel... I mean, I felt bad for Bart, obviously. I felt real bad for... I think the person I felt most bad for this whole thing out of was Steve Williams. He was the one that got the most fucked over by this joke.
Yeah, they shouldn't even put him in that position. He's like a legit badass. They made him just put in an opportunity where something... He could slip on the banana peel and get fucked, or in this opportunity, rip your hamstring and get fucked.
And yeah, the thing was, it wasn't like him being, revealed to be not the badass that everyone thought he was. Like,
nope.
He fucking tore his hamstring and kept fighting like a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Permanently injuring him.
Yeah, never the same again. But, fuck. And yeah, in the same way, like, I didn't get the whole... Seems to be like a negativity against Jim Ross. Of like, oh, they were trying to protect his buddy, Steve Williams, and trying to protect him and all this shit. It's like, I didn't get that feeling. I think Jim Ross was just put in a really shitty position and was like, this is fucking dumb. And you could just see the talent of a guy, just complete first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind, a guy like Steve Williams, having his real final big North American run that should have been a success, just fucked over by this ridiculous idea.
Yeah, you're right. I also enjoyed Godfather admitting how much he was getting high throughout this competition.
How much of a ledge did Godfather just from start to finish in this?
Yeah, it was great.
He said how his wife or girlfriend was pissed off at him for not winning the money because she thought he was smoking too much weed.
Yeah. So I was hanging out with some girls smoking weed. Like right on Godfather.
And then, of course, the bit with Butterbean where, like, Butterbean's like, hey,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
full respect to you guys. I know you guys are tough, but, I'm a fucking prize fighter. I'm going to clean this guy's clock. And, of course, that happens in a room while Godfather is smoking weed.
And the best thing about the Butterbean thing is he's like, yeah, they brought me in as like some punishment for Bart because he, I guess, beat their guy. Like Butterbean is all open about how he was brought in as a hater to just beat the shit out of this guy.
Oh, dude. So good. I honestly love this Dark Side of the Ring series. I've watched every episode from season 1 all the way up to this last one, and they're all good. Have you
Yep.
gone back and watched any of season 1 yet?
Oh, I watched all of them in the span of one day, and
awesome.
it was a terrible decision because afterwards I was so raw, man. I was like, oh, wrestling is so depressing. Everyone dies.
Everyone dies.
Like the Gino one, I found was one of the most interesting ones to me.
Yes, I was gonna say, I think of all of them, I mean, with the exception of the Benoit double episode that I don't really want to talk about, but I thought the Gino one, just as a start to finish episode, was just insanely interesting and just so well done. And it's a story that I think a lot of wrestling fans have no idea of, but super interesting.
Yeah, I think that Texas stuff is like Gino. I don't think I've ever seen him work. I've never taken the time to go back and look at his stuff.
Dude, you should. I mean, between watching his singles stuff, and there's a lot of it up now because the old Paul Bosch Houston territory was previously behind a paywall by that dickhead Bruce Tharp that took over NWA before it was sold to Billy Corgan. But yeah, now a lot of it's just all available on YouTube, and you can just see how fucking talented and much a superstar this guy was. But also, I think if you ever see his tag team with Gino and Tully, that is so great. Like, man, they're just the greatest asshole, like, arrogant heels that you'll ever see.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, so good. And yeah, I mean, the World Class episode as well on the Von Erichs. I mean, another quite depressing subject, but I thought that was really, really well done. Man, I just love Viceland, really.
Yeah, they're nailing it.
100%. I can't wait for the next ones coming up. And the Herb Abrams UWF. I think Dave Meltzer said that he wasn't looking forward to that at all, but I'm pumped for that because that. Do you know much about that?
Isn't he the guy who died covered in cocaine and Vaseline?
That is the rumor, I believe. But yeah, I definitely need to hear.
Yeah, we got to see that one.
Story. Oh man, good times. All right, so next up, looks like we may have a run-in.
Ooh.
Oh, hang on. Let's see if this is going to work. One moment, people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this run-in is none other than my cousin, Ben. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you, fellas. Glad to be here.
Now,
I love my little applause there.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, Ben joined Jeremy and I and John and the rest of everybody at Mania weekend. So I guess that's where you guys know one another most, right?
Yep,
that's correct.
Actually, you don't know. After that, we've spent many occasions together, Chris. No,
really?
yeah, that's the one time.
Nice. It's always good when you find people know one another better than you think, you know?
Yeah.
So the reason that we thought this run-in with Ben might be a good idea is because our next topic of conversation is a fantastic documentary that Jeremy, myself, and also Ben watched about the Great Sasuke. Now, the reason I thought Ben would be relevant for this is both because you watched the documentary, but also because Ben is my on and off again Japanese travel companion who we've watched a ridiculous amount of incredible Japanese wrestling live in person over there. And one of the first shows that we ever went to was...
That was the first.
That was the
It was
first. Shit.
The first.
In Sendai, Michinoku Pro Show. So this is Sasuke's company. So I thought it would be cool for us to talk about it from that perspective. And also all three of us got to see Sasuke wrestle Joey Janela in person as well, right?
Yeah, that was fucking nuts.
That was insane. Some of those things he was fucking doing in that match were just ridiculous. The one where he was trying to do the garbage bin from the top ropes, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
Yeah. And how long it took. Like, all right, we're getting this garbage can spot if I fucking die up on top of this turnbuckle.
It was like 5 or 6 times he tried, wasn't it, to get it done?
At least.
You know, with the benefit of hindsight, that is kind of an analogy for this documentary on really just Sasuke's approach to life. You know, stuff just isn't going to go quite well, but one way or the other, he's just going to fucking keep going.
Yeah, no matter how bad it looks.
So I guess before we get into the documentary, why don't we talk a little bit about, I guess, Ben, you probably didn't know much about Michinoku Pro when we first went to that show, right? What did you know going in?
Absolutely nothing. Except for the name sounded very familiar.
Okay.
Because of Taka.
Yeah, Taka Michinoku, right.
Yeah. That's the only relevance I had to the name. And that bit of artwork you gave to Sasuke.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was fun. So the venue was a little bit different as well, right, for a wrestling show?
Yeah, it was like a little hotel, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So, and it had that massive statue next to it. It was like fucking 40 meters tall.
And like a
vase
of flowers or something at the entranceway. Yeah, and it was almost like a hotel ballroom that this show took place at. But yeah, like getting there was a weird thing because we got into Sendai, and then I think we maybe had to get a taxi or something to get to the actual show.
No, we had to get a taxi, so that was a fun experience too.
Yeah, well, that was our first Japanese taxi experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's the only time we've ever caught a taxi in Japan as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember another time.
No, I think it's good to minimise taxis for anyone's advice. If you're thinking about going to Japan, just try to keep it on the trains as much as possible.
Oh, 100%. That language barrier is never easy.
No.
You know, what did I pay? Was that right?
I think that basically was our problem. We had no idea what he was asking for when it came to paying.
Yeah. Just like, take what you want.
Like sweets.
Because we were also running late for the show too, weren't we? Because we ran in as the guy was singing the song.
Yeah, but I mean, we made it right there at bell time then, because that's what we found.
Was it the same song in the documentary that he sang?
Yep.
Sure as fuck.
That's rad.
Yeah.
So we got to see that song in person.
I even filmed the song. That's the first thing I ever did of a Japanese wrestling show. Filmed the guy sing the song.
Oh, you need to send that to Jeremey, actually. It's pretty cool.
Will do.
I forgot completely that you recorded that. When you sent it through last week, it made me so happy.
It's such a beautiful song, and then you start reading the lyrics, you're like, this song is actually about wrestling? What the hell?
That was one depressing song when he started translating it, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It's like...
What a bummer.
It just brought me down. It's like, the song sounds so good, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like his wife
like country music.
Him.
Yeah, it's country music for wrestling.
But at least he still has wrestling in the end.
Yeah. And he loses all the time. He'll non-stop lose in wrestling, but he'll just keep getting back up. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I mean...
I like how the documentary opens up with fucking Sasuke coming out, like, in the skimpiest gear he possibly could own, and then his little black angel wings. In front of children.
It's like Oh, those wings! It seem like what a little girl would wear to like a costume party.
100%, like, or a stripper at a dance.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
a stripper thing. The best thing about that was, like, when you see him, typically he's wearing the full garb. So when he's wearing just the trunks, he looks especially in trunks. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, Sasuke looks more like he's in underwear than other wrestlers.
Oh, they're definitely skimpy trunks. Like, they're definitely that lower cut. Because I think he just, by the sounds of it, just like almost killed himself to really get in the best shape of his life. Because this is a guy who, for most of his career, wore, the long pants, the like gi type of thing. Most of his body all covered up. And then he gets to age 42 and is like, fuck, it's really time for me to do a bunch of steroids and get in good shape.
Always
I
advisable.
don't know for a fact he did steroids, but I'm just putting some dots together. I don't know.
I could see him needing steroids to get the body going because of how much damage it has.
Yeah.
Fuck, the wear and tear. When you see him at the end when he's fucking walking with those knee braces, like, man, you're gonna be in a wheelchair fucking when you stop moving.
Yeah. And he's sort of changed a little bit more over these last few years, because I guess there was a separation from the end of his documentary and when Ben and I saw him wrestle for the first time. What, like 4 years or something?
Yeah, 2015, I think it was.
Yeah, so he slowed down a bit more. He's doing kind of his. How would you describe his gimmick that we saw that day, Ben?
I don't know how I'd describe it, actually.
It's kind of like a shaman type of magic
Yeah.
man thing. He's got the Brahmin brothers that are like his followers. He's uses his magical mind powers to do certain things. Definitely an interesting cat, but it was very cool to see him in person.
Quite contrasting to how we saw him in the spring break show.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that's, I guess, the difference between doing a normal house show in Japan versus going all out for this show that you've been flown halfway around the world to do because of this like hardcore niche of fans that just fucking love you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, very very different. You're right.
I couldn't remember who'd actually wrestle in that match.
The one that we watched him in Sendai.
Yeah.
It was like a tag, so I think it was against like the generic kind of heels that they've got there. One of the dudes with like a mohawk. I think they're just like sort of the bad guys. It might have been. Anyway, don't want to spend a podcast wondering what that was. But the overall experience, I thought, was very cool, and you get a feel for the company. Like, it's a pretty small company. They've not on their best moments of success, but they're still just doing their best to carry along. And it was an awesome show all around. I'm really glad we got to go to it.
No, I was really enjoying, especially really enjoyed that main event. It was I can't remember his name. The guy who said had cancer.
Yeah,
just
Hayato Junior Fujita, who is struggling with brain cancer at the moment, I believe, but just incredible wrestler, and one of my favorites from Osaka Pro and then Okinawa, Gaina, just a big hoss of a man, and yeah, we got to see a 30-minute draw between those two, and it was just one of the best matches that I think we got to see on that whole trip.
No, that was a great one, that one.
Yeah.
Nice way to welcome ourselves to Japan.
Yeah, for real. So I guess my question to you, kind of, how did just the overall experience of that show and kind of, the way things were set up, and it was like a bit of a family vibe to it, I guess. How did that compare to then when you're watching this documentary and you're like, oh, did it kind of meet your expectations, or was it kind of a bit different, or what?
Oh, for me, it met my expectations. It was, at the same time, it was really interesting. It was really sad.
Yeah.
Just because everything he tries and tries and tries, he never gives up. But it's like he just gets repeatedly kicked in the balls in life. It's like when he had the first run, he had all the backing, was more popular, so he was able to get through and won. But then when he went back again, because you know why he wanted to help people because of all the trouble they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so the political government position. Yep.
Yeah. And then whereas like, well, probably he may have should have just gone back to maybe doing a few small shows to support the people, raise, even though it wasn't a big company, raise a bit of money. Instead of the government's thing didn't seem really be his cup of tea. The way they sort of got across, he really wasn't suited to it.
Well, it
As
also
much as
sounded
he
like
did.
he didn't get the backing of the political parties the second time.
Oh,
So he was just
no,
independent. And
Yeah, no, he was definitely independent by the way they were saying. I think his popularity wasn't as big, so I think that's why he didn't get the backing of a party, maybe.
And also, I
But
guess
it
it
was-
probably didn't end up all that well from the fallout of the first one.
No, it seemed like if you loved him, you loved him, but he sort of, because he wore the mask, it sort of alienated quite a few people as well.
Kind of made him more
That
of a
bit was
gimmick.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
That bit was great. Like, here's Sasuke in front of you with his mask on. Does he intimidate you, sir? Like, so good.
Yeah, I did like that line.
Yeah.
I love the wife just through this documentary the whole time. But yeah, her just matter of factly being like, I told him this was not going to be a good idea when he didn't have one of the parties, but he was like, no, it's my destiny or something.
With everything that kept coming to him, it's like he was so positive, upbeat. It's like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do this, and it's like everyone telling him is like, no, it's not going to work, Sasuke. Stop, don't bother. But he just kept going, right straight ahead.
I think my favorite part of the whole documentary was the bit where there's the doctor just talking about just how fucked up his body is and his neck issues and all this stuff, and he's like, he really shouldn't be wrestling. And then they cut to the wife, and she's like, he says he will wrestle until he dies.
Yeah, and I think it pretty much just summed it up, because it's like, yeah, I can definitely see that him being that person is like wrestling, and he just dies in the ring.
Yeah,
because
his kid's like, Dad always comes back injured.
He just is like, there's no limit to what he's willing to do, because that's how much he loves it. It's like, it was inspirational to see how much he loves it and how much he's willing to go through. But it's like
disconcerting as well.
Because you got like a wife, kids. It's like the way you're going, you're not going to be there to actually see them for much longer, because the amount of pain he puts his body through. Fuck.
Yeah, he's definitely a madman, and I mean I guess that's what we all know about Sasuke. Like, he's a fucking madman. But it's really interesting, I guess, watching this documentary, and you separate like that crazy over the top madman wrestler character to like the real guy who is legitimately a madman.
Yeah, he came off more of a crazy person. Like, before, Sasuke's rad. He's got this cool ninja gimmick, does all this crazy shit. Now I know he's actually like a crazy guy, and the fact that he's a wrestling promoter simultaneously, just how is this crazy person trying to keep this thing together? It's insane.
Also, how good
how did Taka Michinoku get the last? Like, he clearly got the name from Sasuke, right?
Well, he was basically named after the promotion.
Yeah.
That's just weird that they did that. Like, we're gonna bring in our top star, who just happens to be the same last name as what our fucking company is called. Why would you do that?
I guess
it's like WWE involved in hiring a guy like, this is John World Wrestling Entertainment.
Well, hey, they almost did that with fucking Ken Kennedy when they were real high on him, and they were going to make him Vince McMahon's son. That was a thing.
Fair, but still.
It's a stretch. I think one of my other favorite parts of this documentary was going back to his second political rally to get into office, and so you can tell this isn't going well. And
you mean when he brings out the Hummer?
Oh yeah, that was pretty great. Also, Jinsei Shinzaki, who was American wrestling fans would know him as Hakushi. So
I love hearing this.
He has to rescue the promotion, and he's like, so I've brought in Jinsei Shinzaki to take over the books, and he's like, I had a bookkeeping friend take over. I'll have a look at the books to see where things are at, and he's like, this looks like a promotion that has been dead.
Yeah, for months.
Yeah, I love that bit.
Oh,
And yeah, Jinsei Shinzaki just
funny.
threw it into that, next political run. He's just like casually burying Sasuke through the whole documentary. Just like he has good he means well, but he's just sloppy.
yeah.
I really love the driving around and yelling at people
Yeah.
through a megaphone about what you're trying to get your message out. Like, you're driving too fast for anyone to get a coherent, good amount of this message. You're like, what the fuck did that guy say?
But we actually, when we were in Japan, I swear we saw that happen multiple times.
Yeah,
where they
that's how
actually
they
do it. They're
Yep.
driving around with the vans, and you actually hear the loudspeaker going. It's like you have no idea what the fuck they're saying, but that's how they promote their friggin' that they run for. What was it, assembly or
Yeah,
their
I can't
little
remember
government?
the name, but
Yeah.
like the prefectural
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, and we
insane.
would have seen those dudes on the corners and like having people like gathered around them and all those signs and stuff. So yeah, we definitely saw that while we were there. But yeah, speaking of that bit driving with the loudspeaker, I think my other favorite part of the documentary was where they're driving and it's like into the night and he's like on top of the car and he's still talking at the loudspeaker and they're just going over like a darkened bridge when no one is around, just like no one is there and he's just yelling into the darkness on his loudspeaker about Great Sasuke.
I love when he kept apologising for actually yelling out before he'd do it.
Oh yeah.
sorry for the noise.
The other good part is like people they notice me, and it's not just because of the mask.
Yeah, he's got like a special energy, right?
Yeah, it's not just the mask. You know?
Oh, the most heartbreaking part, the most depressing, heartbreaking part about this whole documentary was when he realizes the failure of he has lost. And to be fair, I was surprised that he got the like 4,500 votes that he did. I wasn't expecting that much.
Yeah.
but they actually had it filmed like his actual. It's almost like that fucking Ralph thing on The Simpsons where they actually have film his heart breaking.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, "How are you feeling right now?" And he's like, "I'm mortified." Like he thinks this is his life's destiny, that this is gonna happen, and they film the fucking moment where he realizes how wrong he was, and then they even go further to like where the campaign manager is apologizing to everyone who would like tried to help out, and then he's like, "Yes, Sasuke did not do well. Sasuke was too egotistical." And then Sasuke is there
Too
nodding.
arrogant,
he's like,
too?
Too arrogant. And he's like, yes,
Yeah.
I was too arrogant.
Too
I was
arrogant.
definitely too arrogant. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Fuck me. He really took it in his stride, though.
Well, he definitely was good at that throughout his life, taking things in his stride when he just kept getting kicked in the guts.
Yeah.
He was one who just kept going, no matter how dire it looked.
It was a weird story of hope, I guess. Is that what this was?
It started off that way, but it definitely did not end that way.
Dude,
I like how another fun part is just small thing was every time he changed masks they had to show him changing his mask to another mask. Like they didn't need to. They could show that once, it would have been fine. But no, they showed it like damn near every time he did it.
But you know why they did? Because this stuck with me. So he did it like seamlessly all the way through the movie. One mask to another, one mask to another, and then ride it like when shit was really going bad, and he was at his like
fair.
his roughest part.
Yeah.
And he just struggled so much.
Deal, good call. That's so funny.
I was almost like, does this fucking mask on top of everything, the mask is like the wrong size or something? What the fuck? Oh man. And then he had those fucking kids at the school, and that was kind of like where he like started to feel good again, I guess, right at the end, where they're like, "What is that? What is this scar on your body? What is this?" And he's like, "Yes, I got stabbed by a light tube."
Do you notice how both kids, like, asked them to do double biceps for some reason. Hey, can you pose like this? And then they would do double biceps. Like, what was their fascination with double bicep pose?
And he was okay with it. I think that's the thing. If you ever meet Sasuke, ask him to do a double bicep pose for you, and he'll happily accommodate.
The one kid, you're sweaty.
Oh,
Oh yeah, this documentary I just found so fascinating. I think more than anything, it was like sad. Some points it was a bit slow, but overall, just so fascinating glimpse into a very strange but amazing man.
Hell yeah.
yeah, very true. Very true.
Anything else to add to it, guys?
I think we've about covered it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's pretty good covered.
Nice. Well, I guess the next thing we're going to talk about is some Sendai Girls. So we fell a little bit behind, honestly, with our Sendai Girls coverage. Very sorry, listeners. So we watched up to that big Sari Chihiro Hashimoto match from, I want to say, like September of last year. So basically, Jeremy and I have caught back up, powered on through, and we've watched basically from November to early February, I think, in highlight form. And Ben even watched one of these matches.
I did see a really good tag match.
Yeah, I think the
trios
December
match,
one.
wasn't it?
I think it was just a 6-woman tag. But yeah. So, just a second. One moment, guys. All right. So, the first match, let me just bring this up. Now, Ben, you'll have to bear with us. Is that the same? I guess. But the first one we watched was from November. It was from the 9th of November, in fact. It was a straight-up tag, not a 6-woman tag. And this one was Meiko Satomura teaming with Jeremy and I's potentially our new favourite, I think, in Sayuri, against Ayame Sasamura and our former favourite, Sari. Do you have any recollection of this match whatsoever, Jeremy?
None whatsoever.
That's the dangerous part about watching a whole bunch of matches, right? You just forget certain ones.
So true.
Dude, yeah, we powered through. The only stuff that really sticks out in my mind is the Battle Royal, which was hilarious with
hang on.
Hirota.
We'll do this in chronological order.
Okay, let's go.
So November 1. So I'm very sorry, listeners, but we watched this match. I remember it being really good, the November 1. Would recommend checking it out. I think, but we don't have much takeaway from it. But yeah, watch it. It was good. Okay, then we move on to the November match that we all did indeed watch. This was from, let me see.
I thought mine was December.
Yeah, December. Sorry, I said November. I meant December.
December.
So that one is from, let me see here. I'm just bringing up the details. From the 20th of December. So this would have been after I saw their tag tournament thing when I was in Japan. And this one was in Sendai, of all places. How about that?
Hey, what do you know?
Great place.
Yeah, I mean, for a company that is named after Sendai, who would have thought that they would run shows there? Beautiful city, one of my favourites in Japan.
Yeah, same.
And so this was the 6-woman tag that we were talking about. So this was Ayame Sasamura, Chihiro Hashimoto, and Yu versus the Reiwa Ultima Powers, the duo of Dash Chisako and Hiroyu Matsumoto, who are personally my favourite female tag team of all time. It's a big call, but I'm putting it out there.
Huge.
This past year of watching Sendai Girls, they really won me over, and watching them in that tag tournament, holy shit, they are my favourite. Teaming up with none other than Sari. Sari, who is now apparently set to start with WWE in the near future, but who fucking knows right now with all of the things going on.
So true.
So yeah, I'm wishing her well, but just quietly kind of hoping that she just stays in Sendai Girls. I don't know. So what do we think of this one, gents?
I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially loved Dash.
I think
She
this was my
brutal.
favorite match of all of the ones that Jeremy and I watched in this this lot. It had everything to me that you want in a Sendai Girls match. So who stood out to you the most, Ben? Did you say?
Dash.
Dash. Yep. So Dash Chisako, the partner of Hiroyu Matsumoto. Yeah, she's a badass, huh?
Yeah, loved it. She was just so brutal.
Great strikes.
Yeah, actually,
her strikes were just so tough. It was like she was actually making them hurt.
Mhm.
That's what I like to see.
yeah, the progression of her, especially, and a lot of the stuff that we ended up watching, is very noticeable. She's getting a lot stronger. She has a badass attitude. Like
Mhm.
Suri's a tough chick, but this chick is like a no nonsense badass.
Yes, and she has a fucking beautiful frog splash. I wanted to make mention of that.
Oh, you.
So good. Yeah, I think she's. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeremy. Like from all the stuff we watched, she stood out to me the most in terms of consistency. And I almost want to see her like go up to that next level to like be a title challenger for Chihiro Hashimoto. Maybe I think she's ready.
Agreed. Yeah, it almost even feels like that might be the direction they're trying to head. Also in this match, the more I see of you, the more I am impressed.
Oh,
with her.
how good are her chops?
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoy them more every time I see them. They're like, honestly, and I hate to like, I don't know, this could be perceived as like a sexist kind of comment, but like they are the best. I mean, I build it up like that, and you're expecting something bad. It's not going to be bad. Fuck off.
Oh, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I reckon she's the best female chops I've ever seen in wrestling.
Oh, misogynist. The best thing I think about you is like she can easily fall into just being like a Hashimoto like duplicate, but she's not. She's definitely got her own thing going on there.
I also fucking love her tag team with Chihiro Hashimoto. Like they've got this kind of just like power girl tag team, just strength thing. That's really cool. And I just think they work really, really well together. The one that I didn't know anything about up to this is Ayami Sasamura, but I remember she did pretty good. She didn't like stand out or anything in a negative way.
Yeah, that's all you can ask, really, isn't it?
I'd say so.
Yeah, there was one of these matches where I forget. We'll get to it. One of the partners just was not cutting the mustard, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you might.
I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones in January, I want to say. But yeah, we'll get on to that.
Yeah.
But in this one, there's a moment in this that I took a note on, guys. I took a note. Here we go. Did you take any notes throughout, Jeremy? I know sometimes you do. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to expose you like that. Last time you did.
One time I did.
Last time you did, and
you called me out one time about doing notes. So like the next time I did do notes, I don't think I relied on the notes too much. So
yeah, it's funny though. Like when you don't take notes, just stuff like that November match, just like fall like the sands through the hourglass of my brain. But if you write something down, it can make a difference. I think that's why they get you to write shit down in school, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people learn better that way, writing it down.
Yeah. All right. So let's hope next time we collectively watch Sendai Girls, we maybe make some notes. We'll see. But the part that I made a note of that I thought was significant was there an exchange, I believe, between Hiroyu Matsumoto, who I fucking love. I think she's great in a tag team partner of Dash Chisako, the big hair, just hoss, like everything about her is great. And another one who does not have any problem in laying it in. There was an exchange between her and Yu. And this was where Yu was really laying in some of these sweet, real heavy chops, right? And Matsumoto's just taking them like a fucking boss. And I think that she was like maybe striking back with some sweet forearms. But there's a bit where, you know that thing where people are giving someone chops and sometimes they kind of like line them up and they like put their hand on their chest to kind of get them in the right position,
Yeah.
preparing for the chop. I mean, we're familiar with this from watching a bit of Japanese wrestling,
Yeah.
I guess. So Yu goes to do that to Matsumoto to line this next one up, and just without a fucking second, Matsumoto just like slaps her fucking hand away, and leads to this. I think she gives her a really fucking nasty forearm, and then just this evil as shit headbutt that looked like she just cleaned her clock. Almost just like, you fucking taking a moment to line this fucking chop up. Because that's the thing, you know, people line the chop up and then it's like, oh, you wait for the chop. I fucking love that. No, fucking...
Yeah, why would I do that?
Yeah. Just fucking headbutt you. So I thought that was just a real great moment of badassery, really. So yeah, I love this match. I would highly recommend it. We're going to share it on the old Twitter. Any other comments, guys?
No, I think you covered most of it pretty well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think, to me, the one thing out of this as well, as I watch these going on, I don't know whether I'm like mentally forcing myself to detach from Sari's awesomeness, because I feel like if I don't, it'll really hurt me when she's officially left. So as these matches go on, you know, knowing that she's not going to be long for this company, I think I'm actively liking her less to protect myself. Yeah. Is that just me?
No,
No,
I think it is you. I think Sari's great.
No, she's fucking awesome. I love Sari. The Uranagi's, everything.
I think it might be. It's clear that maybe that they're taking a step back from her a little bit, so that might be what you're catching up on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I do honestly think that Sayuri is going to be a fantastic replacement for Sari once she's gone. But I mean, there's still a fuck ton of talent in this company, which I love. So then we moved on to the January matches. First of which was actually on a Tokyo Joshi Pro show, which is a bit different for us. Did you watch this one, Jeremy?
That is honestly the only one I didn't get around to watching. I forgot about getting back.
That's okay. That's okay. I would recommend that. There's a Sari match on that show against Natsumi Maki. Now, she is the girl that we were later disappointed by in the following Sendai Girls tag. But in this match, I thought she looked a lot better. And there's a real good bit where Sari fucking murders her, and it made me real happy. Like, I felt guilty how happy it made me. It was those kind of ones. But anyway, if you want to see that, I recommend everyone check that out on the DDT Universe. That is on the 1st of January show. And it's actually free at the moment on DDT Universe, that show. So I would recommend it there. Next one we're going to talk about is the Battle Royal. And it's just occurring to me, Ben, you didn't watch these matches. It's probably a bit boring for you to have to just listen about how great they are. Do you want to... Are you good to depart now, or you want to stay on?
Well, I'll stay on here a bit more.
All right. Good.
I better get a few reviews.
All right. So the Battle Royal. What do you have to tell us about this, Jeremy?
It was a lot of fun. Anything centered around Hirota. Is it Sakura Hirota? Yeah, that's right. Yep. She is freaking hilarious. She comes out in the oversized, just wearing Mako's gear, wearing a wig, pretending to be some sort of stern boss lady the whole time. I like the whole premise and storyline of the whole match. It was really funny. I can't go by pace and every beat by beat, but a really fun. It's super silly, so some people might not like it, but it's a good time.
Yeah, for real. I thought it was interesting, this match, because there was a lot of comedy and kind of honestly bullshit and some bad wrestling through the most part of this Battle Royal. To be fair, they had these like gaijin chicks who seemed like they either didn't know what they were doing, and they were like, they were
And
past
some girls were corpsing, like actually laughing.
Yes.
During the parts where they're supposed to be serious.
Yeah, that was. So yeah, there was some spots that were just like not good wrestling, but then to me it really took up. Like once all of those guys were out of it, and then it just sort of got down to, I want to say like Suri, Dash Chisako.
Yeah.
And it just, they just like click their fingers, and it's like, all right, we're wrestling properly now. And it was just a fucking badass, serious match from that point on.
That's what I like about this show, like, or Sendai especially. The comedy, like Chris said, there's some bullshit in there, but it's still a lot of fun. And then they bring the heat when needed to.
Yeah, for real. So this one was on the 12th of January show that you can find on the Sendai Girls YouTube page. But yeah, it was way more fun. I almost skipped it because generally speaking, Japanese battle royals are not very good. Like they're meant to be dumb, silly fun, and no one really takes them that seriously. But this actually turned into a really fucking good match down the finishing stretch.
Chris, I apologize. I was so ridiculously engaged in this match when I was watching it. I was like, this is so silly. Chris would probably be annoyed how captivated I am in all this ridiculousness.
Well, I'm not mad. I like that you can appreciate the fun in wrestling sometimes when I switch off because it just gets a little bit too silly, you know?
For sure.
And I mean, where do you kind of sit on that, Ben? Like you generally, I think, are probably a bit more like me when it comes to the goofy kind of stuff. But I mean, how much time do you have for it?
It has its place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I loved it where it's in like the spring break shows.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other times where it's like after a couple of minutes, like nah, I pretty much zone out and start thinking about something else.
Yeah.
If you're there live, I think it's different to if you're watching it on TV or on a show. I think live it can come across better.
Yeah.
But if I'm watching it on TV, it's like, it doesn't do it for me half the time. It's like, nah.
I can definitely understand the being part of the joke thing. When you're there, it's definitely more appealing than, okay, this is a little silly. Can we move on now?
And I think it depends on the environment too. Like if it's on a fun sort of indie, smaller kind of show, and it's got like that kind of underground vibe to it, like a GCW spring break kind of thing, you get into it. But for some reason, I'm so much shorter with my span of how much I'll tolerate it when this shit happens in like AEW, for example. Like I just don't like it as much in that environment.
I hate it in that environment. It just does nothing for me. It annoys the fuck out of me.
How about you, Jeremy?
Before we move on, what annoys the fuck out of him? What do you say annoys the fuck out of you, Ben?
Like goofy shit in AEW.
It's sometimes overly goofy because you don't feel like they're so much presenting a joke that they think you'll laugh at. They're like, this is what we think is funny, and if you guys don't laugh, no big deal.
Also, different people. Like, I love the Jericho stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't stand that fucking Matt Hardy Damascus. It fucking irritates me. It just keeps going and going and going instead of like, okay, 10 seconds, okay, fine. But then it's like a 5-minute spiel of the same crap. It's like, oh my God, not again.
Yeah, I can relate to you on that one. Good buddy.
Hey, Chris, before we move on the Battle Royal, when Sakura was doing all the Mako spots and she did the round off knee and then missed and hit her knee and was like selling the pain like real big. Yeah. But then she went and she tried to do the axe kick, the step up axe kick, and crotched herself on that girl's knee. That one really made me laugh.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, because she does that, and she also does the spot where she always tries to do the top rope walk, and then she slips, and then she crotches herself, and then she just sells her. Let's call a spade a spade. She's selling her vagina just for a really long amount of time.
The best bit of her walking the ropes is when she actually nails the bounce and points at the people in the crowd and how excited she is that she nailed it. You guys see that shit? You see me? Yeah. That woman kills me.
Yeah. Oh, and the other one, have you seen where she does the gun fingers to the chick's butthole? That is-
Find a shirt for her for me. I need to find one.
That is one spot to where I don't know whether it not get over in like North America or whether it'd get over way more. It could go either way. Oh boy. All right. So after the battle royal, we then move on to the. We're going back in time. Sorry, this isn't chronological order. Almost back to the 5th of January, Sendai Girls show. Now I looked so hard to find this show. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I didn't think we were going to have it. And I was real sad because the main event is Sayuri and Chihiro Hashimoto, who are both Jeremy and I's two of our favorites. And I was really excited to finally see Sayuri in like a top position in a big match like that. So I didn't think we were going to be able to find it, and then finally I found a fucking torrent of it, and I downloaded it, and I think I told you, Jeremy, I was just like so pumped that I had it. I think I put it over more than I should have.
He was stoked. He was jazzed that he found this. He, outside of all the stuff he had already sent me, all of a sudden I got like exclamation points, like, "Oh my! I found this!" Dude, it's just wrestling, bro. How can you get so serious about wrestling?
I will choke you, Vince
Yeah.
So how much of this show did you watch?
I think I watched the entire show.
Oh,
yeah, I
wow.
just put it on. We don't need to go match by match. I just put it on while I was doing stuff and focused on the last couple of matches.
Cool. Yeah, I watched the whole thing as well, and I honestly thought the first half of the show was trash. I don't say that often about Sendai Girls, but they just weren't doing it for me. I mean, I loved the junior match, Makoto Shindo and Yurika Oka. They were good as always because they just do like kind of young girls kind of match. But then, yeah, I was not digging the comedy in the Sakura Hirota match against Iga.
Yeah, that one's got a little ridiculous.
Yeah, just a bit.
It got to Scooby Doo and the gang slapsticky. You know what I mean? Like with everybody chasing each other.
Pretty much.
It was ridiculous.
That's a good way to describe it. Then things turned up where we got Kaoru, who I hate, teaming with Meiko Satomura, who is fucking one of my favorite of all time.
I think that's who I was talking about. Was fucking dragging ass for me.
Yeah,
that was the one. Meiko's partner. She sucked.
Yeah. And now we're against
everything
Charlie
she
Evans
did was weak.
And I mean, you're a big fan of Charlie Evans, right?
Yeah, what's up with where's the Medusa complex going on? What happened here?
Yeah, what's going on with it's Charlie and fucking what's the other one's name?
One of the Mackenzie sisters. Isn't she a Mackenzie too?
I think so. But she's got like an E at the
Millie
end.
Mackenzie?
Millie. Yeah, Millie. Charlie and Millie.
Speaking of Charlie, like I am a fan also. She looks like she's gotten into pretty good shape on this most recent show.
Yeah, I think I noticed that as well. So yeah, I think all parts of this match that weren't involving Kaoru were great. But any parts that were involving Kaoru just sucked so much ass.
She didn't lay it in at all, dude. Like nothing she did had any weight to it at all. It sucked. I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she even in there?
It was just amazing because like Meiko Satomura was her tag partner. So just the contrast of when Meiko was out of the ring versus when Meiko was in the ring was just like, it really makes you appreciate just how great Meiko Satomura is, really.
100%.
And then we went on to the semi-main, which I really liked, of Dash Chisako and Minami against Haruka Umasaki and Sari. And I thought this was real good, all action, far better than anything else preceding it. What do you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was two awesome chicks with two younger girls on their sides who actually held their own pretty good. And this is where I was like, man, Dash is fucking awesome.
Yeah, she was like the fucking highlight of that match. I think she maybe even looked better than Sari.
Yep, 100%.
And yeah, just any exchange between Dash and Sari are gonna be great.
Yeah, it's weird to me to see these two, like Charlie not being in her tag team and Dash not being in her tag team. But you know what I mean? Overall, this Sendai Girls show, you're pretty strong with the point about how the first part was forgettable. Even though I was watching it, even my favorite part, like normally I love Sakura, all her comedy shit, kind of disappointing. But the main event, last two matches we just talked about, held up.
Yeah, and for this tag match, I wanted to put over. I thought Minami, who was one of the young girls, but really being put in quite a bit of a high pressure spotlight position, I'd say. I thought she fucking killed it. She looked really great in that position, regardless of her experience compared to everyone else. And I thought she did a really good job. I think she's going to be, like, honestly, in a couple of years, one of the best in the world. Just putting it out there.
That's what I was going to say. She's that young girl that we saw, like, opening a couple of the first shows when we first started. Yeah, she was great. You fucking dogs. You fucking dags.
The dags. I don't even know what they're barking at. They'll calm down. Let's talk about this main event. So this was a bit shorter than we were expecting. So this is definitely one to see. I told Jeremy going into this, I'm like, I hear this match had some sort of someone getting knocked out. There's a shoot, but I didn't know too much other about it. I looked at the two people of Sayuri and Chihiro Hashimoto. I'm like, these are two girls that fucking are not afraid of hitting hard and getting hit. So I was like, there's no way.
I did my best to blank it from my memory as you asked. Yep. I didn't even remember that you mentioned anything until it happened.
It was almost weird though, because you could tell it definitely curtailed the match. So you could see the match was really picking up steam. And then, what would you say was the actual moment when Sayuri murdered Chihiro Hashimoto? Jeremy?
I'm here. Yeah, she went to like, came off the ropes, and then she ran up and kicked her directly in the face. Like,
yes,
directly in the face. And then it was over. They'll usually do it.
Well, there was a couple, because I think she was foggy before that, because they had a spot on the ropes where she was on the ropes, and I feel like Sayuri hit her with like a spinning back kick or something that really got her in the jaw. It was some sort of strike that I was like, that's the kind of, UFC strike where you get that glass jaw kind of thing. And then from that point onwards, she went straight down. Sayuri was like trying to sort of pick her up, and they're almost doing that spot where it's like, they're selling that they're really fucked up, but I think she honestly was. And then she brought her back into the ring, and they sort of did a spot where Chihiro Hashimoto, they did like a reversal, and she hit her with like a clothesline. But still after that, you could tell she was foggy and she was not really doing anything. And then Sayuri gave her something and then picked her up and gave her like, it was really a Tajiri kind of buzzsaw kick, but just like Jeremy said, straight to the face.
And like, it was like, it seemed like it could have been an end of a match if it didn't happen so quickly into the match. Like, it was like, clearly, there is something wrong here. And maybe our good little Sayuri is not as good as we thought she was, and she's hurting people already, and they need to bury her like Nia Jax. Get rid of her. She's done.
I hope not, sir. I love Sayuri. Did you know I found out she's actually a former UFC fighter?
She has that stance. Like, her stance is of someone legitimate, like maybe Muay Thai or some shit.
Yeah. But I think it was just there was something. She got her on the button a little bit, and then they worked out, hey, let's just take this home. I thought up to that point it was fucking awesome, and it's definitely memorable. I think the whole point of this match in general was to get Sayuri over. So, I mean, you can't have much
This did, in a way.
Hey, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't have much more of a dominant win over someone than, like, shoot fucking knocking them out, and everyone knows that it's, like, for real.
for someone, and also someone who I see perceived as pretty much a badass. Like Chihiro Hashimoto is like no slouch. She's a tough chick.
100%. So I think this is leading up. I'd say on our next podcast we may be discussing a title match between Syuri and Chihiro Hashimoto now that she's beaten her in the non-title.
Maybe Dash in the mix too.
Man, interesting stuff. And did you watch the match after that?
I watched everything, dude.
What a fucking soldier this guy is.
All the wrestling, man.
All right, so then we moved into February, and we're getting towards the end, guys. Don't fear. This podcast is almost over. February 16th. The first one was a sweet tag involving Dash Chisako and Meiko Satomura. What a fucking super tag team right there. At this point, I'm wondering maybe Hiroyo Matsumoto got injured or something because she doesn't appear to be on the cards, and Dash is teaming with other people. Anyway, against Natsumi Maki, who was the woman that Suri faced in the Tokyo Joshi Pro show that she murdered, that I really enjoyed, teaming with Suri. And I thought that was a really good match as well. What do you think?
The thing I really liked it, to comment on what you said about Dash tag with Meiko, I've actually noticed it's almost like Meiko tags with someone and then they start getting a little bit more of a push, like almost like she's in the ring with them to see what they could do as she's wrestling with them. Yes. And then, she kind of gives them the rub up.
I mean, that was the story with Syuri for sure, right?
100%. And they even had her, I think, a couple shows back with Syuri. Man, I can't say the other girl's name. Suri and Suri. Is that what it is? It's like almost identical.
So we've got Suri, and then we've got
Syuri.
So Syuri is a S-Y. So just remember the
Damn,
S-Y.
it's hard to say.
Syuri.
That's hard. My American tongue doesn't want to do it. But
you
she
try
was
enthusiastically yelling it out when you're in Korakuen Hall with all Japanese fans, but you really want to support her, but you don't quite know how her name's pronounced. Awkward times, might I say.
I don't want to do that. But yeah, she was that in that position as well a couple shows back.
Yeah. But I thought, Meiko just everyone looks their absolute best teaming with Meiko as long as your name is not Kaoru. I can't. There's another one where I didn't take any notes and I can't remember too much about this match. Any other things from you?
Yeah, I'm about to say, but again, one of those Sendai matches, it's good, enjoyable, nothing super standing out because they just were going through the paces.
Oh, I got a note. I made a note on this one. How about this? How about this, guys? So there was a great bit that I thought was noteworthy where Suri had Meiko Satomura in this sweet sit down leg lock, kind of almost like you've done a spinning toe hold, but then you've sat down and locked it down and you're kind of face to face. And then in that position they got into this just badass slap exchange. And Suri gave Satomura a particularly stiff looking one that honestly was pretty much just a real stiff punch to the face. And then and then she goes for another one and Satomura just grabs her hand, preventing her from slapping her, and just within an instant somehow suplexes her out of that leg lock position, and then kicks her real hard in the head. I wrote down after that, magic, 2 exclamation marks.
She's the best.
Oh, so much enjoyment. All right, and then finally we had the main event of this show with Kagetsu against Chihiro Hashimoto. Now, Jeremy, do you know anything about Kagetsu?
I've seen a couple matches, but I'm not terribly familiar with the backstory.
So she came from Stardom. She was initially with Sendai Girls. I think she was trained by Meiko Satomura. Then she goes to Stardom, ends up becoming their trainer, and was pretty much the head of their big heel group on the Stardom show that I went to. And then apparently all this weird political stuff came out where she was like ousted because like a bunch of the Stardom girls were like claiming that she was too strict or something with how she like ran the dojo. Quite strange.
I think you did mention that. Sorry.
Yeah. So then, this is kind of following that. Kagetsu announces her retirement, and this is basically like her retirement tour. So this is one of her final big matches against one of the best of Sendai Girls, Chihiro Hashimoto. So, what would you think of the match?
I actually was a real big fan of this one. This was one of my favorite I watched during the big stint of shows.
Yes.
The fire. What was her name again?
Kagetsu.
Kajitsu.
Yeah. Kagetsu.
Whatever. You say it. I'll get it next time. Sorry. Tremendous. I love the fire, and the fact that she's like not backing down from the much bigger opponent.
Mm-hmm.
It was really great.
Great aggression.
And I love the mixture of styles. Like she's not just kicking and punching. Did she used to do a lucha gimmick? Is that why she comes out with the mask?
I don't know. When I saw her in Stardom, she came out with the mask, and when she was with the other bad girls, she was teaming with Jamie Hayter, I believe, who I'm also a big fan of.
Ooh.
Yeah, she was part of the bad girl group there. But no, I thought she was great because like you have the technical element. There was a lot more like mat work and submission kind of stuff, which I appreciated.
Yeah, and I know how lame I sounded when I said she didn't just kick and punch, but we've been going a long time, and I have been talking about a lot of wrestling matches. I meant more how it was a mixture of styles. Jesus Christ. Yeah, she didn't just kick and punch, so it's really cool. I like it when they don't just kick and punch. Fucking A. In depth. That's the only in depth commentary you're going to get from this podcast.
I did think, to be fair, through a bit of this match, it was a bit slow. Like there was a point to where it kind of like I wasn't bored, but it was like, all right, they're going to be turning this up sometime soon, and then they fucking did. It just had like a real. Just ramping it up. Like one of my favorite things about good Japanese matches where it just has that escalation through the finishing sequence where it just like turns up that drama, the next notch, the next notch, the next notch. And I think she had like a beautiful bridging dragon suplex, I want to say. Does that ring a bell for you?
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't remember. I didn't remember if it was a dragon or a German, but yeah, beautiful bridging suplex.
And I was surprised at how fucking beautiful her fireball splash, or otherwise known as 450, was. That was nice.
Yeah. I think I've seen her one other time before, and she impressed me. But yeah, I had really high hopes because anytime they have Hashimoto in the main event, it's pretty gangbusters.
Yep.
How long do you think they have these retirement tours? Can they go longer or shorter, depending on the wrestler? How long do you think she still got it? Or
I don't think long, because I believe on our next show we'll be discussing her big quote-unquote retirement match against none other than her own trainer, Meiko Satomura.
Oh, what a beautiful ending.
Yeah, so you'd think it's a poetic enough finish to where that'd be calling it a day. At the same time, she's like, unless she has some crazy injuries that I don't know about, it's such a shame that she's like hanging up the boots, because she's fucking real good.
Yeah, this match, I like, no bullshit. Like, it definitely was one of my favorite. I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't typically actually go back and watch a lot of wrestling matches again.
Yeah, we'll definitely be linking that one up on the Twitter as well. And that finishes up all of the matches that we were talking about.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Nice work, fellas.
Oh.
Thanks, man.
Oh.
No worries.
Oh. One match that I know both of you all watched that I almost forgot all about. What did you guys think of Go Shiozaki versus Kazuyuki Fujita?
Ben, go ahead. We've been talking a long time. You go ahead.
No, I really enjoyed it. Although I did not expect it to go for the full 30-minute stare down.
I don't think anyone
did. Away. Dude.
I thought they would I thought they were joking because I started it, but I thought, fuck, I'm not going to have enough time. So I just thought, no, I'll come and watch it tomorrow. Then I saw some comment on Facebook that said, like, stare down. I was like, some like an hour or whatever. I was like, nah, it can't be right. And I go back and watch it. I was like, fuck. It was intense though. It built. Just the anticipation of what was going to happen, but it was just like, fuck, they're actually doing it. I was just intrigued to see what it would have been like. Would have it worked with a crowd? Or
It's a
did
good
it
question.
work better because there was no crowd? That was the thing I was stuck on. It's like, I thought maybe a Japanese crowd may have been able to build, like the crowd getting louder and louder until it finally, then they just went for it. But it was a brutal match when it got going.
Certainly.
I enjoyed it.
I had no idea that there was this extended stare down. Like I had not paid attention to anything on Twitter, so I was just sitting here watching, just digging around on my phone, and I assumed, well, any minute this time the shit's gonna pick up. And like, literally, I looked down at my phone like in 10 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I said to Chris, I'm like, what the hell, Chris? And he like laughed. But yeah, when it got in like 30 minutes deep, I'm like, all right, I'm actually digging this. I never thought anybody would try to bust this concept up. I actually got excited when the motherfucker switched from one corner to the other.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, shit's happening.
I'm like, what? It is going down. Oh, she did not go down. But that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he spends like another 15 minutes on the other corner.
Yeah, because they did 2 quarter changes, wasn't it? They just like, it was the first 15 minutes, then like the 20, then 25, and then they went for it.
Yeah. Oh man, I cannot exclaim just the palpable excitement when finally you're like, oh shit, takedown!
Oh, fuck.
Man,
But I can also see why somebody may hate this. So,
yeah.
If you want to skip out, if you have to just watch the other half, it's a really great match. It kind of takes away from the art form or the piece itself, but great match overall for sure.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
it's just surreal to me. Like, there's nothing I've ever seen anything like it, and I don't think I'll ever see anything like it again because you couldn't do it again now that it's been done.
No.
And just the overall circumstances of the no fans being there and everything, it just was perfect. And I there's no way in the world anyone's going to do a better no fans match during this period than this in my mind. I honestly, like, not even being ironic or like, you know, fucking trying to appreciate things in a cool way that other people don't. Like, I loved everything about this, and I think this is honestly like under contention in my mind for like my best match of the year. Like, regardless of great shit that happened at Wrestle Kingdom and everything, like, I thought that much of it. Like, once it actually got going, like, there was such a realism to it, to that just like hard grappling and wrestling, and like Fujita having him in the headlock, and Go not wanting to like bitch out and get the ropes, and he's just like actually legitimately trying to like wrestle out of it. And then
I love the look of disbelief on Go's face. A lot of the match, like, he just couldn't believe this old man is just taking it to him so hard.
Oh, the facials between the two were just incredible. Like, some of the best I've ever seen. And you know, how can you not love just the fucking balls of a dude drinking hand sanitizer and spitting it in a man's face?
Yeah, dude, what the hell? Like, I bet he didn't think that out at first. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking do this. Oh my god, this is fucking awful.
I think I said to someone on Twitter, I'm like, I've never seen big dick energy like that before. Oh man, and yeah, just the, you know, hard as fuck, just brutalism of that finishing scene, and those Fujita just head kicks, and oh man, it was, I loved everything about it.
That was my favorite part, actually, the Fujita head kicks. They were just brutal.
Yeah.
From side to side.
Yep.
I did love that.
Nasty. But yeah, would recommend. I don't know if like you could listen to us talking about this and be like, I want to watch that, but it's rewarding. I mean, at least to me, it takes a unique kind of person, I guess, to like it. A lot of patience, but yeah, I loved it. So good.
I definitely enjoyed it.
Good.
3 thumbs up.
Jeremy, I'm so happy that you got to experience it without actually knowing what was going on. So you got to kind of, yeah.
Dude, yeah, it was a genuine experience. I'm like, I'm not bullshitting to you. Once I looked at my phone and realized it had been 10 minutes and they hadn't done shit, I was like, no way.
Well, that's it. And I mean,
That's
like the
they kept
psychology of it in your mind, like when you're watching it and you're like, whoa, they've waited like a minute. This is fucked. Are they going to go for like a full 2 minutes? Are they going for 5 minutes of like not doing anything? And you're like, 10? What? And then it just keeps going up from there. I can't even, guys. I can't even.
It's not even bullshit. I was unbelievable. Like, sometimes you watch wrestling and you're stoked by a body slam, or like, oh man, they worked to that suplex where I actually popped for a vertical suplex from the mat. And then here, I popped huge from one man switching corners. So I genuinely got stoked. It was great.
Yeah, and some of the best use of subtlety in wrestling that I think has ever happened.
100%.
All right, well, let's close this shop down. This has been a long one, but I mean, people have been waiting for this, I'm sure. We're a little bit later than we usually would be, so it's fine.
Plus, you got to hear me talk about people not just kicking and punching. Like, that was...
That'll definitely be on the Grown Men Watch This Shit sizzle reel. We'll have that audio excerpt.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny. Like, it's like all serious sizzle reel. Grown men watch this shit. They talk about hot stuff like wrestling. Yeah, she can just kick and punch and really.
Yeah.
I do the plug skis.
All right, you do yours first. What do you got?
Okay, I'm at Jaims Vanderbeek. That's at Jaims Vanderbeek. I'd also like to plug this television program that I'm plugging everywhere. I plug it to Chris once, but everyone should watch it. Mr. In Between. It's fucking great. Please watch it. Let me know what you think about it if you have.
It's still on my list. It's still definitely on my list.
Watch it, damn it.
I would like to direct everyone at Chris Things on the Instagram, also at Chris Things on the Twitter, but mostly the Instagram for all the wrestling art things you might want or need. Also follow the show at Grown Men Pod, where you can find out when we have a show coming out. Sometimes it might be a bit longer between, sometimes it might be shorter. You never know, so you need to watch the Twitter to know.
Sometimes there's a pandemic.
Exactly.
It just causes chaos, man.
Exactly. Also, let's give a shout out to our good friends over at Social Suplex. They keep the lights on, as they say. We have a variety of other great wrestling podcasts on there that you can check out, such as One Nation Radio, the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, the All Elite Show, Keeping It Strong Style. There's another one I can never remember, but that's fine. All of that at socialsuplex.com. I give myself a pat on the back on that one. That's pretty good.
Nice work, Chris. Nice work.
Thank you.
Nice to hear from you, chums.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks, man. It's good times.
Respect your thumbs.
All right, let's not do this. Let's not wait so long and get Ben on again.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to allot him some wrestling matches to watch.
Hey, how about since we've got you all sizzled up on this Sendai Girls band, I'll send you the watch list and we can talk about this next chunk next time together.
Definitely, I'll try and take a few notes too, so I remember who the chicks are.
Oh, fucking notes! It'll be the all notes show. Everyone's
so many notes.
All right, ladies and germs, get swifty.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks yourselves. Thanks. Bye.
Bad, bad,